And welcome back to Who Would Win, the last of the week of the Who Would Win, although I still got one tomorrow. Collis Williams asks, who would win a fight, Natsu Dragneel or Escanor from Seven Deadly Sins? I do not follow Seven Deadly Sins. I have followed a little bit of Fairy Tail in the past, and I've done Natsu a couple times. He's technically a reincarnation of a demon, actually, raised by a dragon. Fire dragon magic allows him to just produce God knows how much of fire. He also can produce electricity, thanks to I believe absorbing the abilities of a electric dragon user. Either way, he can produce electricity and plasma. He can also go into multiple enhanced forms. He's extremely fast. I don't think I really need to go over Natsu at this point. I think Natsu's kind of self-explanatory. Escanor, because I haven't done a lot of Seven Deadly Sins stuff, is someone I do have to go over. Now, he is one of the Seven Deadly Sins. He's the sin of pride and the former second prince of the kingdom of Castiello. The man known throughout the kingdom alliance as the strongest holy knight. He hasn't. Now, this is one ability where I'm like, I kept seeing people say, "Oh, you gotta do a what if where this character gets sunshine." I'm like, I don't know what sunshine is, because you never specify what it is. But now I know what sunshine is. It is the ability Escanor has. Is one of duality. He is weakest at midnight, but starting from dawn, his power levels begins to rise steadily for 1 hour to the next until it peaks at noon. And during his fight with Gallade, his power was shown to be increasing by 5 points with seemingly every second. It was measured at 50,060 while continuing to rise. This is apparently like magical power level stuff. At his peak, according to Merlin, he easily surpasses any other sins. This would include Meldus, the main character in theory. But he only can remain at his peak for 1 minute. And that's at noon until a minute after noon when the sun basically begins to, start setting. And that's the thing. His power begins with the rising sun and sets with the rising sun. And he changes both dramatically and mentally. The form you see here is him like at near his peak, in like his just standard level of power. However, when the sun sets, he turns into this skittish little guy with a demeanor placed by one of just nerves and bundle of anxiety. But that being said, he's still what we'll obviously be using at least initially is him buffed up. Escanor, his attacks basically include a super slash, which he delivers a powerful downward slash with his axe causing considerable damage that can be felt for several meters away. Woo, I mean that's impressive, but I mean, come on, guy. This is because he wields a giant ornamental axe known as Rita, a giant ornamental axe named after a maiden said to have been loved by the sun. It is incredibly heavy, and most of its weight is concentrated on the head, which makes it very off-balanced. Yet during the day, Escanor is able to wield it with one hand. A large spear he possesses, and is shown briefly within the 10 years before the Seven Deadly Sins were framed for Zoroastri's murder, appears to not be as heavy in comparison to the sacred treasure he wields. And magic glasses given to him by Merlin. He's able to suppress his daytime form. However, he will instantly transform into his larger self when they are removed. Kind of like Clark Kent glasses, basically. That said, though, during actual full power, the One, as it's known, it's basically him during noon when his power's at his peak. For 1 minute, he basically becomes the manifestation of power in itself and is by dwarfs normal people. In this form, he is said to be invincible. Escanor makes a downward swiping motion with his hand that can cut an opponent. The attack's powerful enough to destroy Zeldris's ominous nebula, which I can't really... I'm going to just look that up right now to get context of what we're dealing with in a scenario like that. Hold on. Let's see. Ominous nebula. Let me see a picture of what this is like, basically. Okay. Concentration resolves his dark energy around him at immense speeds to the point where it's seemingly invisible, creating a vortex that surrounds and attracts all living things around him. Okay, so basically you're cutting almost non-physical things. Not intangible per se, but not solid matter. You're cutting through non-solid matter, which is actually very impressive. Divine Spear Escanor. Escanor thrusts his index finger into his opponent with enough force to pierce them, which is actually fucked up. Trust me, normal person can't do that. Your finger just starts to bend in like that. Like, I can push my finger into my hand for a little bit, but it just starts to move. The fact he can just do that is, like, that's actually pretty impressive. And then finally, the One Ultimate. An extension of Escanor's The One form, created by Escanor himself. After noon, when the One reaches its limit and begins to fade, he circumvents it by converting his own life force into magic power in order to not only keep the One active, but also greatly enhance his already invincible power. Technique is Escanor's last resort and a double-edged sword, as using it will completely burn out his own life force and eventually kill him. So, we have, obviously, Natsu here, and let me actually get Natsu up here real quick. I want to at least try to be fair to all the fairy tale guys. Because I don't read or watch fairy tale religiously like I did Bleach or Naruto or even My Hero. But I did read and watch some of it. And I did like what I saw. I never stuck with it very long. So, let's see. Natsu, Dragneel. There we go. Natsu, obviously, as we said, is there we go. He was a member of the Fairy Tale Guild, but his younger brother is Zeraphil Dragneel, having originally died 400 years ago, being subsequently revived as the brother of those powerful END. He's among the 5 Dragon Slayers sent to the future from 400 years in the past, having an additional purpose and the assistance of beating Aknologia. Anyway. But power-wise, like Dragon Slayer magic, we already know this. He can't consume his own fire, but he can consume other people's fire. He has so many goddamn fire attacks, including secret fires. Lightning Dragon Fire mode. After eating Laxus's Drager's lightning and having the flames of lightning inside his body fused together, he gained the ability to use enhanced fire, which basically means he can use lightning fire. All his attacks are basically enhanced with lightning. Black Fire Dragon mode, absorbing the flames of Dark Regulus. Anyway. He's got Black Fire now. Fire Dragon King mode after 10 months of training. Basically, he's just got more powerful attacks. Dragon's God Brilliant Flame, an alternate version where he basically just Dragon Force by consuming has been. It's like, you suck. You're not even really talking about these. It's like, because really it's just a lot of the same things done in different styles. Dragon Force, consuming Itheron or the Flame of Rebuke. Natsu has been shown to be able to enter Dragon Force. The ability is said to be the final, most powerful state of Dragon Slayer can attain. It's said to become comparable to that of real dragons. First known generation, strong to be okay. So he's kind of like a dragon, but also he has enhanced physical capabilities. Apparently, thought projection to some degree, transformation magic, rudimentary skills, enhanced smell, enhanced hearing. But is that all? Oh no. Because he also has curse power. Natsu is an Aetherius, as an Aetherius, is able to access his demonic power after the mass of magic in chest was enlarged by someone. His desire to kill his creator is activated. However, he still retains his ability to think and function properly. His art and spatial features become more demonic while also increasing his power. He's also a master of hand-to-hand combat. So this is all well and good. However, the question is not what Natsu is capable of doing. He's capable of doing a lot of things, clearly. The question is, does he have anything capable of putting down Escanor? Can he get through Escanor before Escanor cuts him in half pretty much, or just rips him in half? Because physically, from what we can tell, Escanor has the power to pretty much... He has the physical ability to just waste Natsu in a heartbeat if he really wants to. Just slice him, rip him, stab him, beat him in the living hell. Like, physically, Natsu cannot compete with this guy really at all. Granted, Natsu is a very expert hand-to-hand combatant. He's technically sent from the past 400 years ago, so he's actually 400 years old, but that's not really what we're asking here. We're asking, is Natsu's fire capable, fire, lightning, dark fire, any of this, capable of doing any lasting damage to Escanor? And I think we have to start the fight not at max potential Escanor. We have to start it at like an hour before max potential, because the fight would probably be dragging on for a while. Both these guys have insane durability, and Escanor is going to keep getting stronger throughout the day up until reaching noon. So, and that's the problem here. It's all dependent on when this fight takes place. So let's look at 3 different scenarios. Starting at noon, later on, like say around 2 or something in the afternoon when it's past noon, he's now starting the weekend, or a couple hours, like an hour or 2 after the sun has risen. So let's start with after the sun has risen. These two meet, and there's a disagreement, and Natsu throws hands with him. Now, maybe initially he's actually going to be able to overwhelm Escanor, but the problem in this scenario, the first scenario, is that Escanor, the longer the day goes on, he's just going to keep getting stronger, and he's really just not going to tire out because his body's constantly refreshing himself. So, and that's not to say he would just suddenly tire out if you start beating him after noon, but that's not what we're talking about. He's still got the durability he's got. It's just his strength starts to wane as the day goes on. Here, it's like, okay, boom, 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 ow, that hurt. And then you just wait a couple seconds, like, okay, boom. And just like, it's like that. So, like, as the day goes on, as we get closer to noon, Natsu is just throwing more and more at this guy, and this guy's just kind of waving it off, bull rushing through attacks. Eventually, it would be reaching peak. And I think at that point, Natsu, for all of his abilities, is just tired out because he can't eat his own fire. He's unfortunate. Now, granted, he could light something on fire and then the fire expands, but I guess that's still technically his own fire. So, yeah, he can't eat his own fire to recover in this case because Escanor isn't a fire user. He's just powered by the sun, which I think is why this match was chosen. I think, honestly, Natsu is going to just tire out. He's just going to... Escanor is someone I don't think he can outlast in a long-term fight for hours on end. So in that scenario, Natsu loses. Peak of the day, that's when they first meet. Natsu, if he does not take Natsu out quick, Natsu has a much better chance because his power is just going to start waning literally the minute after noon. So I think Natsu would be able to keep his distance for a while, realize that he just can't take this guy out. And maybe Natsu even goes full all out initially, but unfortunately it's not enough. And it's not enough to really do much because he's said to be invincible, although that's just within his own world. I still think that it would probably go to Escanor because even though his peak would start to decline he'd quickly no longer be at his peak, and he would then start to decline. He'd still decline from near peak in a slow decline at that. So, yeah, I still think it would probably be Escanor in that fight. Now, if we're going to later in the day, like he's only got a couple hours till sunset, maybe let's say it sunsets at, right now it's set around 5:30 for us, so let's say 5:30, and it's 3 o'clock. He's still got 2.5 hours of sunlight left. Or let's even go 2:30. We got 3 hours of sunlight left. Doesn't really matter. I think that's the scenario that's best suited for Natsu because at that point now, Escanor is getting weaker and weaker throughout the day, and he's no longer at his peak or even close to it. So, whereas in the beginning of the day, Escanor is just going to continue to grow stronger and stronger unless Natsu can knock him out somehow, which I don't think Natsu would have the power to based on what we've seen from the Seven Deadly Sins and other mediums. I think the afternoon fight is where Natsu most shines and is most likely to take out Escanor at that point. So I think I would tentatively give it to Natsu. He's still certainly not dumb either. Like he's definitely a skilled fighter, strategist, and knows when he is outmatched to a certain degree and knows how to play against that. So I would tentatively go with Natsu on that. Unfortunately, that's still a 2 out of 3 scenario in the favor of Escanor for any of you Natsu fans. So my money, it's going on Escanor. I think Escanor is kind of just too much brute force in this case for Natsu to really overwhelm. But that is just my opinion. What do you think? Granted, I say this knowing only a little bit about the seven deadly sins, and not even having the best knowledge on think words here, on fairy tale. Even though I have more knowledge on fairy tale than I do the seven deadly sins. So my money is probably going to go on Natsu. I'd say Natsu. Sorry, why am I saying? My money's on Escanor. Disregard that last statement. My money's on Escanor. I'm probably going to go Escanor based on what I can see and read and find. So, yeah. Anyway, though, that's just my opinion. Let me know in the comments below what you think and if you agree or disagree. If you do or don't, that's cool. Let me know in the comments below why or why not. Till then, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoy. Thanks. Comment, share, subscribe. And we'll see you for the next one.